Yo, what is up YouTube? It's Partywaffles here, and I have been cooking in the lab for the 10.2 Unholy DK PvP guide. And I have the builds that I like the most. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you guys both the builds. I'm going to explain them. I'm going to explain gearing, everything. I'm going to explain it all for you right here, right now, so that you can succeed for the Season 3 start. So let's get into this right here, right now. So the first thing we're going to look at is the builds, okay? There's going to be two builds. They're slightly different. The playstyle is going to be different though, but yeah, so I'm going to go highlight everything about the builds from left to right. And yeah, so let's take a look at them. So the first build here is going to be the dot build, which is going to be the main build that I'm going to be playing. The dots just got buffed by 20%. Everything about this build just got buffed essentially. I'll explain it. So first of all, on the left side here, we just have everything standard. We have double death grip. We have short Icebound Fortitude. We have zone. We have improved death strike. We have empowered rune weapon. And we have evon limb, okay? So if you want to switch any of these around, you're basically just going to be juggling around defensives, right? Like, for instance, if you don't need acclamation, you could go merciless strikes for extra damage, okay? Or if you didn't need improved death strike, you could go wraith walk. Or if for some reason you really didn't want this, you could subtract these two and you could go soul reaper, right? And the build is still going to be more or less the same. But this is the way I'm going to be playing it, all right? On the left side is going to be the same for both builds, okay? That's pretty much just standard. On the right side here, the way this works, like I said, this is a dot build. So essentially we have Plaguebringer, which is going to make our dots do damage occur 100% more quickly. So we're going to want to keep this up all the time. We're going to have Even Fever because Virulent Plague is getting buffed by 20% on Tuesday, which is tomorrow. So with this talent, it's going to make it go absolutely crazy, kind of like at Season 1 before our dots got nerfed originally. So we're going to be playing that. And then I'm obviously going to be playing Morbidity since I'm going to have my dots up all the time. This is just going to be an extra 6% damage, plus the Coil Devastation dot, so even more. So where this build gets a little bit different than previous dot builds, number one, we're playing Unholy Assault. Since it's changed now, it's 20% damage. So that 20% damage is just going to make our dots go crazy, as well as our burst outside of our dots. The next thing we have here that you might notice that seems strange, potentially, is I'm not playing Unholy Blight, okay? So the reason I'm not playing Unholy Blight is because I'm playing the full Death Coil package, right? I'm playing Sudden Doom, I'm playing Rotten Touch, I'm playing Reaping for extra big Death Coils to execute people. I'm playing Coil of Devastation and Improved Death Coil. So basically I'm playing a whole Death Coil package. So this build revolves around dots, Death Coil, and then you're going to have nice Apocalypses as well, but it's more or less a dots and Death Coil build. So beyond that, I'm playing Reaping instead of Unholy Blight, okay? The reason I'm doing this is because the fact that I have all these coils, I'm going to do this just to land kills a little bit better, right? I'm going to have huge coils, huge Scourge Strikes. Since I'm playing Rotten Touch, the Scourge Strikes are already buffed by 50%. They're getting buffed by 10% too tomorrow. So everything about this build is getting buffed tomorrow, basically, right? So I'm sacrificing a little bit of Rot with Unholy Blight for more single target kill potential with Reaping. That's what's unique about this dot build here. But basically, the reason I don't really want Unholy Blight too is I can already apply my dot anyways, right? So that kill potential is, you're going to see it's really going to shine, especially in dampening, anything like that. It'll be really good. So this is going to be my go-to build tomorrow, okay? But I'm also going to show you guys a single target version of this as well. So, because this is more so Rot, like sure you have single target damage with the coils and everything like that and the Apocalypse, but more or less it's a dot build. So let me show you the single variation. So what's different about this one, it's going to be all the same on the left. The only thing different about this is we're going to be dropping all the dot downs, okay? So instead of Plaguebringer, we have Clawing Shadows for this one. Instead of Even Fever, we have Bursting Swords. And then, yes, so that's more or less it. We also have Harbinger of Dooms for extra Doom Burst procs, because this build is just about Clawing Shadows and Coils, basically, right? And then outside of that, it's about Big Apocalypse with the Bursting Wounds. So just big burst, single target. Yes, so you can use this build as well if you like, but I'm going to be mainly focused on this dot build. But both are very viable, all right? So let's go ahead and talk about the PvP talents now, and I'm going to explain what situations you're going to want to use what, everything like that. And yeah, so let's get after it. When I explain you these talents and everything, I'm going to be explaining about the future, right? So I'm talking about next week, aka tomorrow, when we have our tier set all these builds and everything like that are planned around the future, right? Like around us getting gear, everything like that. They're all planned around the future to be able to just use them the entire season, assuming there's no PvP changes. All right, one other thing I wanted to say here is that there's a flex talent, right? So when you're playing this build, again, this talent is a flex talent. So if you're fighting single target stuff, you're going to play Morbidity, right, for the single target damage. But if you're fighting like a melee that you're going to get full defile cleaving value against, or say you're playing with a Shadow Priest, okay, against 2 melee. So obviously the melee are going to camp your Shadow Priest the whole game, and you're going to get full value on your Shadow Priest with this. This is the flex talent. You can change the morbidity around to this, all right? For the clawing build, if you're playing the dot build, you could also, same with the dot build, right? You could move around the reaping if you want. If you want to move the reaping to defile, or you want to move 1 point of that to defile if you can cleave, same kind of thing, right? You can juggle these talents around a little bit, but these are my favorite variations. Like for the dot build, I'm probably not going to play defile, to be honest. I'm probably mostly just going to play reaping, just because I want the kill pressure. But yeah. In terms of PvP talents here, we have Life and Death, which outside of RBGs or something is pretty useless for us. Dark Sim. So I like to use, last season when I was pushing rank 1 solo shuffle, I used Dark Sim actually a lot into boomkins, okay? Because here's the thing, boomkins or anything like that, you get them a precog, or somebody gives them a precog in solo shuffle, right? It happens very often. So anytime that happens, you just put a Dark Sim on the boomkin, and then he's going to cast the clone with his precog, and you're going to guaranteed get the clone. So it's actually so strong. I did that. Honestly, any boomkins below 2900 didn't even play around it. All they did was just feed me clones, and I would just clone their healer on cooldown and just destroy them. So that's a piece of tech you should definitely incorporate into your gameplay. The next thing we have here is the Necrotic Wounds, which I never changed this one single time last season. Not even once. So just keep this. It's a stacking healing absorb. It also heals you. Basically play around this. Try to keep the wounds up on as many people as much as possible, okay? Especially with the dot build. That healing absorb, as well as your dots rotting everyone down, is just going to, it's like we said, it's going to rot them down, right? Sorry if I sound a little stuffed up today. The next thing we have here is Reanimation. It's a meme. Don't play it anymore. It was good when it first came out and they reworked it. Not anymore. Necrotic Aura. You could play it if you really want. It's 4% damage. If you have a full magic team, like Presvoker, DK, Ogvoker or something, sure, everybody's getting value for it. If it's not a full team, you're losing a little bit of value because they nerfed it in half. So, again, Strangulate, really good talent. You can use that. Rotten Wither, terrible talent. Bloodforged Armor, I use this into double melee if I'm getting tanked sometimes, but a lot of the time I'll just use Chains of Ice and Kite instead of using this. So it can be bait sometimes, but it can definitely be good sometimes. Next thing we have here is Spell Warden. This is good. You want to eat a trap for your healer or something. Just prevent a CC chain on your healer. That's good. You want to have shorter AMS for yourself. That's good. Definitely a playable talent. But the talents that I'm going to be playing are going to look like this, okay? I'm more than likely not going to change this, and I'm just going to play these 3. But, so what's going to happen here is Doom Burst, okay? This Doom Burst talent is very important. Both of these builds that I just showed you, especially the single target build, you want to play around Doom Burst, right? So the way your wounds should work is you apply your wounds, but don't just go ahead and scourge all your wounds right away, right? You want to fish for procs. So send out some coils, fish for a Doom Burst proc, because when you get a Doom Burst proc, you want to have wounds on the target, right? You want to be bursting 2 wounds with your Doom Burst proc every time. And then the Doom Burst also cleaves, right? So if you can have 2 people stacked up and you get a Doom Burst proc, make sure you have wounds on both, and boom, you'll cleave both of them super hard. So play around the Doom Burst, okay? Structure your coils and everything around Doom Burst. The next thing we have here is Necromancer's Bargain. So Necromancer's Bargain, what it does is it's going to reduce the cooldown time of Apocalypse, okay? Why this is significant? Well, our tier set is built around Maguses, the undead mage things, okay? So Necromancer's Bargain, every time you use it, is going to spam, it's going to spawn 2 Maguses with your tier set. Double Maguses, which are going to be cleaving every target. So, as well, the 4 set, the more runes you use, you can keep the Magus up. So you can essentially, with this talent, not only are you applying more wounds because you can burst 4 wounds at a time with it every 30 seconds, it does a big chunk of damage. And again, it's going to be summoning 2 Maguses, and you're going to have about 80% uptime with them if possible. So, as well as it puts Crypt Fever, which is a dot on the target too. So it's really nice in the dot build. So it has a lot of different uses. It synergizes really well with a lot of things. I kind of like it just because the 30-second APOC is just insane for putting wounds on everybody. There's a lot of reasons, but mostly the Maguses is why I'm going to use this permanently, I think, just to keep my Maguses up all the time. But like I said, if you want to change this talent and you want to play like Silence or something, by all means, go ahead. But this is what I'm mostly going to be playing, Cookie Cutter, I would say, baseline. So that's that for the PvP talents, and as well as the talents in general. So let's go ahead and talk about the next thing here, okay? We're going to talk about gearing, and while we're doing this, I'm going to show you guys the new embellishments. So as far as gearing goes, it's like this, right? The Bloody Token gear is the worst. Honor gear is the next best. The upgraded Bloody Token gear is better after that, and then Conquest gear, right? So ideally, you don't need to do the Bloody Token gear. You can just go Honor gear and then go straight to Conquest gear. But in terms of your embellishments that you're going to put on your gear, it's the same as last season. We have embellishments. I'm going to show you what they look like, okay? I'm going to just show you really quickly the embellishments we're going to use. So last season we crafted legs. It's not going to be the case this season, but let me just show you the embellishment first. So the embellishments that I'm going to use are going to be all right? The first one is going to be a new one. It's right here. It's called Verdant Conduit, all right? So I'm going to put that one on my chest plate. So I'm going to make tier, helm, shoulders, legs, and gloves. And I'm going to either eventually potentially craft the chest, but I'm going to get the PvP chest to start instead of the tier piece. And I'm going to put this on it. I'm going to put the Verdant Conduit on the chest. And then I'm going to get the boots again, just like last season, with this embellishment on them right there, okay? Those are the two embellished items I'm going to get. As far as stats go, I'm going to be going for a little bit of haste and a lot of mastery. If you're playing the Clawing Shadows build, a little bit more haste is good. But if you're playing the dot build, haste does nothing for your dots, okay? Nothing at all. Mastery increases your dot damage. Haste will make your Maguses attack faster though, right? So haste is good. Haste and mastery are both good. You could go low haste, high mastery. You could go high haste, lower mastery. You could go 50-50. But what I'm going to do personally, I think, is I'm going to go about a good chunk of haste, maybe like 13% again or something. Or maybe less, but we'll see. I'm going to start with my haste low, and I'm going to go super high mastery, okay? And I'm just going to adjust my haste. If I feel like I want a little bit more, I'll get a little bit more. But I'm going to be more mastery-centric. But it's like this. Verse, mastery, haste, okay? That's your priorities. Unless you want to go more haste. And then in terms of enchants, I'm going to go over all the enchants that you want right here, okay, as well. So you know exactly what to do. So for your necklaces, again, it matters what stats you want. If I'm going to go Verse Mastery, I'm going to go Zen Nelthorite Gems, okay? And then I'm going to go my Cloak, Homebound Speed. On my chest, I'm going to go Waking Stats or Sustained Strength. On my bracers, I'm going to go 200 Speed. On my belt, I'm going to put the Shadowed Belt Clasp. On my legs, I'm going to put a Fierce Armor Kit. On my boots, I'm going to put Planesrunner Breeze. On my gloves, I'm either going to go Mastery or Haste, depending what I want. In terms of trinkets, I'm going to use this trinket again, okay? I'm going to use the proc trinket instead of the on use. I'm going to shoot to get the legendary axe because I'm pretty sure it works in PvP. In terms of weapon enchants, Rune of Fallen Crusader for Unholy is what you're going to be using. As far as race goes, race does not matter that much, okay? I had 4 Death Knights last season. I almost got rank 1 on all of them. I didn't notice a difference barely from the races at all, except for Human. Human, I noticed a difference, all right? But at the end of the day, my Draenei was just as high rated as my Human. So unless you're pushing rank 1 3s or like very, very top of the ladder, it's really whatever. You know what I mean? The looks will honestly probably make you play better because you look cooler, right? And that's exactly how it works, guys. If you look cool, you play cool. So now that we got that sorted out, we know the itemization, we know everything like that, we know the talents. The next thing we're going to take a look at here is play style, okay? So how it's going to play out, I'm just going to give you a basic explanation of Unholy first, the general rotation, and then I'm going to kind of show you some of the nuances, all right? So assuming we're playing the dot build, the other build is more or less the same, but we're playing the dot build, so we have all of our runes, right? The gist is that we put our dot on the people, or whoever we're fighting. We want to keep our dot 100% uptime if possible, okay? Now, after our dot, basically all we do is apply Festering Wounds. So you want to fester, if they have 4 or more wounds, you generally don't want to fester, okay? Because Festering Wounds will apply apply 2 to 3 wounds. So if they're at 4 and you apply 3 wounds, it only caps at 6 and you're wasting a wound. You do not want to waste wounds, okay? Same with wounds, like you want to burst your wounds so you have to. You don't want to waste wounds because bursting wounds is going to give you strength from Fester Might. So you don't want to waste wounds. So keep your dot on them, apply wounds, burst wounds, okay? And then your death coil is to dump your runic power. So you want to try not to overcap your runic power too much, but you want to basically balance between runic power and keeping your necrotic wounds on the target, right? So you want to have your necrotic wounds on the target, and you also want to not overcap your runic power too much. But one thing you want to watch for is Doom Burst procs. Like I said, if you're playing the Clawing Shadows build and you have Harbinger, your Doom Burst is going to proc a lot more. Without it, it's going to proc a little bit less. But like I said, you want to structure your wounds around Doom Burst procs. So see, I have a Doom Burst proc. I want to use the Doom Burst proc and prioritize bursting wounds with the Doom Burst proc. Because number 1, you only have the Doom Burst proc for so long. Number 2, it does more damage. And number 3, it can cleave. So you really want to prioritize having your wounds for the Doom Burst procs. So what I like to do is when I'm in melee range, I'll prioritize Festering to get the wounds on, because I can't apply the wounds from a distance besides my pet and my death and decay, depending my talents if I'm playing this. So I can't really apply them from a distance. I can do everything else from a distance, right? So what I want to do is when I'm up close, I want to apply my Festering wounds, and if I'm playing the dot build, I want to make sure I have Plaguebringer up, okay? But that's the gist of it. Keep your dot up. Try not to overcap your runic power. Prioritize Doom Burst, as well as prioritize keeping your Plaguebringer up if you're playing the dot build, okay? That's it. Prioritize Doom Burst and Plaguebringer, keep your dot up, and there it is. And then just outside of that, just try and keep your wounds up as best as possible on everyone, while keeping your dot on everyone. Another thing here, some other tech for you is Death and Decay, all right? So the way Death and Decay works is if you are standing in the Death and Decay, you cleave, okay? So if I'm playing Scourge Strike, obviously I'm not ranged. My Scourge Strikes will cleave in the Death and Decay. But if I'm playing Clawing Shadows, I'll show you. Let me give you an example here of how it works with that. If I can just switch it really quick. So if I'm playing Clawing Shadows, like I said, the Death and Decay works while you're in the Death and Decay, you cleave, okay? So obviously your Scourge Strike or your Clawing Shadows will cleave. Obviously, Scourge Strike isn't ranged, so you're going to have to be in Death and Decay with the people you're trying to cleave. But that's not the case with Clawing Shadows, okay? With Clawing Shadows, say I have wounds on all these people. It doesn't really matter that I don't, but watch. I can drop a Death and Decay, and I'm cleaving all these people, right? I'm Clawing Shadows, and I'm just cleaving all these people because I'm in the Death and Decay, and they're stacked. So you can use Clawing Shadows, Death and Decay like that to cleave people on pillars if you're not connected yet. That's just a piece of tech you can do. Another thing you can do as the Clawing Shadows build if you want to kill people is, let me just show you. You can stack a lot of damage like this, right? This is like some hidden tech that I use to kill people in solo shuffle, but let me show you. Okay, so I have a Doom Burst proc. So what's going to happen here is my Death Coil has travel time, my Clawing Shadows does not. So if I'm max range, I shoot a Death Coil, and then I Clawing Shadows, watch. I Clawing Shadows nearly the same time. It's stacking the Death Coil damage as well as the 2 wounds getting bursted from Doom Burst. And then it's also stacking the Clawing Shadows damage and the wound getting bursted by Clawing Shadows. So that's 3 wounds getting bursted, a Clawing Shadows, and a Coil. Coil could hypothetically hit 250k. Each wound could be about 45k times 3 wounds, plus a hypothetical 100k Scourge Strike. So that's a lot of damage that you can stack. Like, that is a lot of damage you can stack. Again, I'm probably going to be mainly playing the dot build. But yeah, that's just a piece of tech that you should honestly know. Okay, I'm going to show you guys. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys how to burst, okay? I'm going to show you guys the burst rotation. So there's a couple different ways to do this, all right? So obviously you're going to have your pet out. Say I'm running at this guy. While I'm running at this guy, there's a couple globals that I can do before I even connect that are going to save me time when I'm ramping up, okay? Because Unholy has a long ramp up. So let me just show you one way I'll do it. This is like the most offensive, like aggressive going immediately way, right? Like there's another way to do it where you would just get everything out and then APOC after. Unholy Assault after. But I like to Unholy Assault at the start. Not only is it going to make my Apocalypse hit harder, it's also going to make everything hit harder for 20 seconds since they made it increase damage by 20%. So I'll show you how I often open up in solo shuffle 99% of the time. So it's like so. I'm running at the target. Dot Army, Dark Transformation. If you have time to Dark Transformation, you can. Unholy Assault, Apocalypse, A-Bomb Limb, and Power. And then I'm just burst my Doom Burst, more wounds, burst my Doom Burst, remember prioritize Doom Burst, and there it is. And just keep going at that point, right? Coiling. Just try and keep 6 wounds on them. If you got 6 wounds on them, try to just spam coils and leave your wounds in anticipation to reapply those 6 wounds, right? So remember, maximize your dot uptime, maximize your wound uptime, maximize your Doom Bursts, and then if you're playing the dot build, try to keep Plaguebringer up all the time. And yeah, even if you're not playing the dot build, try to keep your dots on people because number 1, it's going to give you more Doom Bursts and more runic power. Another way you could play this Clawing Shadows build if you really wanted to, I've seen people run it like this. You could do it like that, but I'm just going to show you anyways, is you could drop Morbidity, you could drop Super Strain, and you could go for this right here. You could go for Unholy Command and have short pet. And then your pet will be 45 seconds instead of a minute. The reason I don't really like the only reason I see to play short pet personally is if you're playing this, because then anytime you transform your pet, it's going to empower you and make you stronger. Or if you're playing this, because it's going to empower your pets. If you're not, or if you're playing last season's tier set because it gave you mastery, right? But we don't have last season tier set anymore, so we're not getting mastery from transforming our pet. So unless we're playing these talents, we're not like, sure, the pet's gonna do more damage, but it's not buffing us, right? So I really don't see a reason to play those. This is my preferred playstyle. If I was gonna play like a whole pet build, like I said, I'd have to have everything like this and everything buffing it. So my pet would be buffing everything, but that's just not the way I'm playing it. I'm playing it consistent damage. So this build right here, all these builds I just showed you will have a ton of consistent damage, a ton of burst if you do it correctly, and you're honestly just gonna rot everyone. After tomorrow, I can't even wait to see what the numbers are like. But yeah, if you guys got any other questions, anything like that, questions, comments, concerns, let me know down in the comments below. And also, guys, YouTube just came out with like subscriptions, like Twitch kind of. So on my channel, they're called memberships. So if you want to become a member of the channel, it costs $4.99 Canadian. And you just go to my channel and click join to sign up, and I will appreciate you guys very much. So if you like the video and you want to support, go ahead and do that. If not, just drop a like, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next guide. We're going to make a Frost guide next. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and I'll see you guys in the season. Good luck, guys, and take care.